Hey guys, it's Soda here. Welcome back to another video. So, something happened recently that, it's nothing too major. You might have already heard about it. I did post about it on my community tab, and I also posted about it on Instagram and stuff. Yuki had a pretty bad night fright the other night, and unfortunately he lost all of his flight feathers during that night fright. So he looks so naked. Look, his wings are so short. And he can't fly at the moment until they grow back. So don't worry, he is fine. He's not like injured or anything like that. He did have some dried blood on him, but that seemed to stop pretty quickly by itself. He doesn't seem to actually be injured or anything like that. He just has really short wings and can't fly until they grow back. But I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about night frights. Oh, what was that? You're showing off your little nubby wings. But I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about night frights, because I haven't actually talked about them too much on my channel before. Yuki used to get them all the time when he was younger, but it had been like so long since he had one, and then he suddenly had one the other day, and it was a really bad one to the point where he lost all his flight feathers, which happens sometimes. So I thought I'll just talk about night frights, why they have them, and what you can do if your bird's having them, because it is a little bit scary, but it is very common with cockatiels. I think other birds can get them as well, but it seems to be mostly common with cockatiels, just from what I've heard. They can be a bit clumsy and they just are really skittish, so they get frights easy. And they can actually, unfortunately, seriously injure themselves sometimes. And even sometimes I have heard of them passing away from a night fright. Unfortunately, just they're so small that a fright can just give them a heart attack, which is really sad. So if you're wondering, Yuki seems to be doing fine. It's been a few days now since the night fright. He does seem a little bit sad that he can't fly. Like, he just kind of sits on my shoulder for like hours because obviously he can't fly around. And also the other birds don't seem to be flying much either. I think because usually Yuki's kind of like the leader, so they follow him, and since he's not going anywhere, they're not going anywhere either. Which is kind of cute that they all stay with him and like give him company. It's really adorable. But they will grow back, of course. I don't know how long it will take. It kind of just depends. It is spring here in New Zealand now, which means it's kind of molting season, so hopefully that means it won't take long to grow back. Sometimes they can also lose their tail feathers from night frights. Thankfully he didn't lose his tail feathers. He would look pretty funny if he did though. He would look like a little quail. Oh yeah, I'm wearing my Yuki shirt today too, by the way, so check out the merch in the description if you want. So what exactly are night frights? Basically, I mean, they're what they sound like. They're a fright that birds can get sometimes at night. But a fright for a little cockatiel can be kind of more extreme than a fright for like a human. When cockatiels get frights, it kind of causes them to go in like a panic state. They can like fall off their perch and start flapping around like crazy, and they can really hurt themselves just from flapping around and damaging like their wings, or they could break like a blood feather or something, and they just kind of go into this like scared state for a bit. You can't really just stop night frights from happening, but there are things you can do to try and avoid it from happening, which I will talk about in a second. But basically they can get night frights from pretty much anything. It could be from a sound they heard, it could be maybe something fell off your shelf or something, or they saw a shadow, or I don't know, sometimes it's just kind of random, you don't really know why. Like, I have no idea why he had that night fright the other day. Usually I'm in the room when he has a night fright, but I wasn't this time, which of course the one time where I'm not in the room is when he has like a kind of major one. But usually they happen like when I'm asleep and they wake me up, so I go downstairs to check on him. But this time I wasn't in the room and it was around 12 AM. I just came into the room and saw feathers all over the floor, and I was like, what the heck happened? I still have no idea what happened. Maybe something fell over and it scared him, or maybe he heard something, I have no idea. But it must have really spooked him, poor baby, because he lost all his flight feathers and he was bleeding a bit. Well, it was dry by the time I saw him. I'm not sure if he just hurt his wing or it was from like blood feathers, I'm not really sure. I think it was both, kind of. But yeah, it really freaked me out at first because I was like, you know, so scared, like if it was worse and I wasn't there. I don't know, sometimes obviously they can have heart attacks, sometimes they can injure themselves and bleed out, so. But thankfully he was totally fine, he just lost his feathers. And also, I don't really know why they lose their feathers, but it is something that happens sometimes when they get a night fright. They just drop all their flight feathers and sometimes their tail feathers, and I don't really know why. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on it. I did find though that some birds can drop their tail feathers when they're being like chased by a predator or something. Tofu is being loud. Sometimes if like a songbird or something is being chased by a hawk, they can kind of drop their tail feathers as like a way to get away, like a defense mechanism. It's a bit of a shit defense mechanism though, because it also causes them not to be able to fly very well, but I mean, it helps them get away at least sometimes. So maybe it's something related to that. I don't really know. Or maybe it's just because he was flapping his wings so much and maybe he was hitting the bars, maybe got caught in the bars, I don't really know. But it happens to a lot of people and it's a bit of a shock when it happens to you the first time. I've never had it happen before, so I was pretty shocked, but at least I already I've heard about it happening to other people, so I wasn't too worried, but it's just very surprising that it happened to you, of all people. I thought it would have been like Ren or something, but you were very clumsy when you were a baby, weren't you? He would get night frights all the time when he was a baby. I think partly it was because his wings were clipped when he was a baby, which was not my choice at all. So he was very clumsy because of that. So yeah, he would get them all the time. When your bird is having a night fright, like if you catch it happening, obviously, because sometimes you sleep through it because obviously it happens at night, maybe not in the same room as them, you know, but if you happen to like be awake or it wakes you up, which usually it wakes me up, usually I just go down and I turn the lights on first, of course, because they don't have very good eyesight at night, and I just kind of sit with them for a bit, and usually they're kind of like in this scared state where they're breathing really hard and their eyes are like really big. So I just sit with them a bit until they calm down and they go back to normal, and then I go back to bed, and then they're usually fine after that. Oh, careful, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, he just tried to fly, silly boy. Oh, here you go. Oh God, he just tried to fly again. You alright, little man? Oh God, I feel so bad. I think he just forgets sometimes that he can't fly right now. He does have lots of things to climb on though. He climbs around the cage very easily. I mean, they do that anyway, so yeah. But there are also some things you can do to try and avoid it happening, like having a night light, which is what I used to do when Yuki would get them all the time. Well, I just kind of use like my keyboard, like, because I have a light up keyboard, so I'll just leave it on at night, and that does seem to make a difference. Obviously sometimes that can still happen, but it does seem to make some kind of difference. Another thing is I personally don't cover my birds at night, just because when I did when I first got got Yuki, he was the first one I got, I would cover his cage at night, and it just caused him to have more night frights, so I stopped doing that. I don't do that anymore unless like I happen to be up when it's like past their bedtime or something, because it just seems to cause more night frights. I don't know, it might depend on your bird though. I've heard some people say that it helps, so I guess it just depends, but personally for me it just kind of makes it worse. Another thing that might help is like having some quiet music in the background. I mean, I do that during the day, like if I'm not home I always leave music on for the birds, but at night, if your bird's having really bad night frights like all the time, it might be a good idea just to leave some music on. Like usually I just put on like lo-fi beats to study to or something in the background, just nice and quiet. Might help a wee bit, and just getting them used to like loud sounds in general. Like during the day, I always think it's a good idea to like kind of do loud things around your birds, like when you get them, obviously not like purposely trying to scare them, but just normal things like vacuuming and like, I don't know, the sound of something falling over or something like that, you know, just see them used to things like that. That way when a loud sound happens on accident, it might not scare them as much, but again, they can always still get scared anyway, but it's just an option, you know. Can you see Tofu? He's trying to look at the camera. How you doing, Tofu? What are you doing, Tofu? What are you doing? Handsome boy? Oh, I think he's actually getting all frisky. Hey. What are you doing? Yes, you're a pretty boy. Oh my God, he's literally just like doing hot wings to the camera. I have no idea what he's doing. That's probably very loud for you guys too. Who's my handsome boys? Can I kiss you? I'm scared. He's gonna kill me. Also, just a tip, one thing I always keep close to me, like close to my bird cage, is something that can stop bleeding, which can be either like cornstarch, flour, baking soda, stuff like that. Is really helpful to always have on hand if you have birds, but especially if your bird has night frights, it's very helpful because it can stop bleeding. So I always have that handy. But if your bird has a really bad night fright and they might be bleeding like really bad, then it's probably a good idea to take your bird to the vet, like an emergency after hours vet if you have to, because birds don't have a lot of blood. I mean, they're really tiny, so they can quickly lose too much blood. So yeah, so I hope that didn't scare you or anything like that. it's very normal for cockatiels to have night frights, and usually they're not like that bad. Very uncommon for them to like die from a night fright, but just something to be aware of so you can know when it happens and you can be prepared if it happens, and also so you don't get too much of a fright if you wake up one morning and your bird is missing all their flight feathers. Because yeah, poor little guy. I feel really bad for him, poor man. Maybe if I was in the room at the time and I heard it happening, I wouldn't be able to stop him before it got this bad, but you know, you can't always be there 24/7 for your animals, you know, shit happens. And it always seems to happen the one time we're not there. So I hope this video could be a bit helpful to you guys. Everyone give Yuki some good luck so his feathers grow back quickly. He seems to be adapting well, but obviously, you know, it's a pretty big thing to just suddenly lose your ability to flight overnight. Which I guess is what people do when they clip their bird's wings, but yeah, we don't really like that, do we? So yeah, if you have any other tips of like your experience with night frights, feel free to add them down in the comments below. I could have missed something. And yeah, I hope this video was a bit helpful. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!